loans. Student loans are a crisis in this country. Joe Biden is addressing the student loan crisis, and I'm going to break down the details of what Biden is saying about student loans and how Joe Biden can and might actually do some good in this particular area. So buckle up your seatbelt, get ready. We're about to get started on the Black Financial Channel right now. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to the Black Financial Channel. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. Today, I want to talk about student loans. Joe Biden made an announcement recently about student loans, and I'm going to read some of this to you. And of course, you guys know my doctorate's in finance, and so there's some things that I'm going to see here that I'm going to break down for you that will help you to have eagle eyes, financial eagle eyes. You will be able to see things financially that other people cannot see, because one of the great superpowers that I was able to obtain is the ability to break through the BS and get you to the real stuff. So what's going on, everybody? Terry Cobb and Victor Mobley and Whispers 7182 and Lambo Transco and everybody else. Good to see you. Hashtag B1. Put a hashtag B1 in the chat. We talk about wealth, black wealth. Black wealth is big for us. We have solved the black wealth equation. We know exactly what it takes to get rid of the racial wealth gap. It's very easy to get rid of, but we don't know how to do it on a national level. But I can definitely tell you how to do it on a family level. So let's talk about student loans. So here's the deal. Paris says I owe $110,000 in student loans. God help me. Well, I'm not God, but I can help you. So let's see what's going on here. All right. So with student loans, here's the deal. So Joe Biden, one of the big issues that he's been asked to address as president that is really kind of bipartisan, it's kind of big and out there, is this student loan debt crisis. American students, American former college students owe about $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. That's the next big economic crisis in this country. That's one of the next big bubbles that exists in this country. A lot of this occurred because as American worker wages were not going up, the cost of university attendance was going up. It was going up faster than the rate of inflation. It was going up definitely faster than the rate of wages. So one of the ways that the American people tried to deal with this onslaught of really selfish capitalism is taking on debt. So much debt was taken on just to go to college. A lot of people are taking on debt just to survive, especially now during the pandemic. So student loan debt has been a thorn in the side even before the pandemic began. Since the pandemic began, President Donald Trump actually paused student loan payments, which was well, here's the deal. So Biden coming in, one of the things that he's picked up is am I out? Let me know if you can hear me. Give me a yes or no if you can hear me. Everybody type yes if you can hear me in the chat, because I'm on my phone and someone just called me, and when someone calls you, it disrupts your audio, and I meant to hit the little button to block the calls. So do you got me now? Yes. Am I back? All right. Thank you. I'll type a yes in the chat if I'm back. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so and hit that thumbs up button, by the way. Please hit the thumbs up button. We are building Black media. We need your help. Portia and Empress and Tammy, we need your help. We're trying to build, we're in a war, so we need your support. So here's what here's what the situation is. Student loan debt has become one of the greatest wealth killers in America, really, especially the Black community. The reason it's the biggest wealth killer in the Black community is because a lot of you were trained to work hard, go to school so you can get a good job, and basically give away all of your family wealth to some big white university that probably only brings Black people to campus when they're playing basketball or throwing footballs. You probably went to some school where, if you go through the whole business school, the whole biology department, there's not one single African-American faculty member. Even many HBCUs don't hire African-Americans for things like business or the sciences. When I went to Howard University to interview for a job on the finance faculty many years ago, I was interviewed by a Chinese man. So I had to impress a Chinese man enough to convince this Chinese guy that I'd be good enough to teach African American students. How about that? That was kind of amazing. So so here's the deal. You go deep in debt. Half of all Black college graduates default on their student loans. This is your talented 10th. These are the people that you were hoping would help you close the racial wealth gap. but they can't. It's almost like having your best player on your team that's injured. It's like taking LeBron James and putting him on the court with one leg. So basically, you're a black elite. You know, the black folks that went to college ended up basically in so much debt that they can't get out of the debt, and many of them were defaulting on the student loans. So when you default on the student loans, what happens is that the implications are far deeper than just not being able to pay the debt. It's almost like the worst versions of catching the virus. You know, catching the virus and overcoming it is one thing, but then sometimes you can have long-term health problems as a result of the fact that you got so sick. So the fact that you got so financially sick and couldn't pay your student loans means that now your credit is bad. Well, now that your credit is bad, not only has this affected the moves that you've made to this point and the money that you have to this point, it's also affecting the moves that you can make in the future. It's crippled you for life. Do you get what I'm saying? Give me a yes or no if you understand what I'm talking about. So debt is a wonderful thing when it's used properly. It's a terrible thing when it's used improperly. Student loan debt is a highly improper way to use debt when it's used in excess. So the interesting thing about Joe Biden is what Joe Biden is referring to, what he's talking about now, is something that, at least on the surface, does not appear to be truly transformative on the student loan front. They're talking about taking away about $10,000 in student loan debt. $10,000 in student loan debt. So I want to ask you a question. Give me a yes or no. Yes or no. How many of you have more than $10,000 in student loans? Give me a yes. Yes or no. How many of you have more than $10,000 in student loans? Yes or no. I'd like to know. Because most college students I know, especially those who graduated from places like Syracuse University, where it costs about $72,000 a year to attend that school now, which, by the way, is incredibly way too much to spend on a college degree. I'd rather spend time putting my child through an entrepreneurship program so they can learn to start a business and get cash flow, or teach them how to buy real estate so they can own property and get cash flow, or teach them how to go buy stocks and bonds so they can actually have assets and cash flow. I'd rather teach them that than have them go spend $72,000 a year to go learn liberal arts. I'm sorry. I know learning Shakespeare is very exciting and makes you feel good, but and I've been a college professor for many years, so I'm the first person to tell you that education is valuable. But I'm also the first person to tell you that most of what you get on a college campus in terms of education, much of that you can actually get on the internet. The only thing you can't get on the internet that you can actually get, that you could get on the campus, is professional licenses, professional degrees. So if you want to be a dentist, or you want to be a licensed social worker, or you want to have some sort of, or you want to get a legal license, you have to go to college for that, for sure. But if you're talking about going to school to study Old English literature so you can get a degree, you know, in writing, and and have $200,000 in debt because you learned, you know, English literature, I don't know if that's a good investment. I just don't. I'm not saying that it's stupid. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying that it's going to be hard to overcome that hurdle, because one of the fundamental rules of debt, and when it comes to money, one of the most fundamental rules of debt is that the income generated from that debt should exceed the amount of debt that you take on. That the amount of money that you make from the debt should be higher in what they call a present value model. I'm not going to talk about that. If you want to learn more about that, we talk about that in the Black Business School. But basically, when you do mathematical calculations, the amount that you earn should exceed what you borrow. So debt is a wonderful thing, if on one condition. There's one condition in which debt is good. That is when debt is making you money, when debt is elevating you to a better economic position. Many Black students are not elevated to a better economic position because they took on the debt. Let me tell you why the debt did not work for you. Hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button. The reason the debt does not work for you as a Black person is because the wages of workers have remained stagnant while the cost of tuition has gone up. Follow my words. Read the words that are coming out of my mouth. The cost of tuition has gone up while wages for pretty much all workers, even those with college degrees, have not gone up very much at all. Now, the money that's being made by entrepreneurs has skyrocketed. The money being made by people that own stocks and bonds skyrocketed. The money made by people who own real estate skyrocketed. That's what they call asset inflation. So the value of stocks and bonds in real estate has gone up in conjunction with the cost of tuition. But what has not gone up is that paycheck that you're going to get from that little job that you borrowed $200,000 for in order to get that job. So when you were sent to a big white university so that you could go deep in debt to get a job working for another white person when you finish that university, so you can drive a nice car and live in a nice neighborhood and say, look, mama, I made it because I went to Harvard, you are engaging in what I consider to be one of the most epic racial wealth transfers in history. But it's not even just racial. It's really a transfer from to the rich from everybody else. And when I mean the rich, I'm talking about not so much rich in terms of assets. I'm talking about rich in terms of actions. The transfer of wealth goes from the worker to those who own assets, from the renter to the landlord, from the consumer to the producer. So when you go to college and you go deep in debt to get that college degree, that with an amount of debt that you can never repay, that you're going to die in debt. Kevin Samuels was over there talking about people dying alone. I don't know if I can tell you if you're going to die alone, but I can tell you a whole lot of folks are going to die in debt. A whole lot of folks are going to die in debt. So all that debt that you took on, that was a wealth transfer, because the universities are getting over like Pablo Escobar. If you have a big university in your city, chances are that they are in some black neighborhood. They're gentrifying that neighborhood. They have removed all the black folks, put up a Starbucks and a Whole Foods, and bought up all the land, bought up entire city blocks at a time, because the land is so cheap, because they've got all the cash, right? So the universities are winning. The landlords, because of asset inflation, real estate going up, they are winning. People who own businesses are winning. People who own stocks and bonds are winning. A lot of you in here own stocks and bonds because you've been listening to me for a while. You know I'm big on the stock market, and so I congratulate you if you're in that category, because you have officially leapt the fence. You have officially broken a generational curse that would probably have haunted your family for another 100 years had you and I not had a good conversation, and had you not had the courage to engage in action that makes you a little bit different from the average Negro. You're not different. You're not like everybody else. You are different. You're better. You're special. You're smarter. You're more capable, and that's why I respect you. Hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up, share, and subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Let's finish talking about Joe Biden and student loans. I want to break this down. And also, just as a reminder, you guys, we actually have a business school for children. It's at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. If you want your kids to get ahead of the curve, we have a university called the Black Business School that is Black owned. It's worldwide. We have 130,000 students all around the globe, and we teach better than any university out here. And we also teach our kids to invest at the age of 6. We have different philosophies. Our philosophy is that if Black children learn how to invest at the age of 6, Black children will be the greatest wealth builders on the entire planet. So let me lay down a couple things about Joe Biden and student loans. Well, the first thing is that it's a good thing. The good thing for Black people about Joe Biden addressing student loans is that Black people are hit harder by student loans than everybody else. The most Black students that start college, at least half of them never graduate. But even when they don't graduate, they still walk away with student loans. Give me a yes or no if you know somebody who went to college for a year or two. Maybe it's you. It's okay. No shame in your game. That's okay. But give me a yes or no if you know somebody who went to college for a couple years, dropped out, but still had debt. Give me a yes or no if you know anybody like that. I know a lot of people who went to college a semester, maybe 2 semesters. Maybe they got pregnant. Maybe they got the girlfriend pregnant. Maybe they need to quit for a couple semesters so they can get a job. And then next thing you know, they're 40 years old and they can't go back to school. It happens, right? It happens. So half of all Black college graduates never finish school. This is the second statistic I picked up during my 27 years as a college professor. The second statistic is that half of all Black people who do graduate, who actually get to the finish line, cannot pay their debt. The typical Black women are so superb when it comes to obtaining education. Black women are just off the chain. I was joking with Alicia about how she is a superstar faculty member at her university. She's a brilliant Black woman. And then we hooked up with this realtor who was a brilliant, amazing professional Black woman who's made over $1 million in real estate. And then she hooked us up with another Black woman. We said, we're looking at getting some property in Atlanta. She hooked us up with another brilliant Black woman in Atlanta who was just like her. And then she hooked us up with another brilliant. Black. I'm telling you, like we have an oversupply of amazing Black women who are just kick butt professionals who are just on their game. And I just think that that's a superpower that Black women have, and I'm very proud of that. I think that's actually remarkable. But one of the challenges, though, is that in all this educational success, one downside of this is that when they look at how much debt Black women have when they finish college, that when they go out 10 years later, they actually have more debt than they had when they finished college. Debt ain't supposed to work like that. Debt's not supposed to work like that. The debt's supposed to go down. It's not supposed to go up. But they found, and I have to go look up the study, but they found that the women have more debt 10 years later than they had when they finished school. That's not a sustainable business model, in case you're wondering. You're supposed to be building a positive net worth. So the good thing about the elimination of student loan debt by Joe Biden, even if it's not a big number, is that it will help a lot of Black people because student loan debt is one of the number one factors that's causing the reduction in Black wealth that's going to occur, where they say median Black wealth will be zero by 2053. Student loans are a direct culprit in this issue. The downside of this is that, and of course, they're going to market this as, hey, look at this is what we did for Black people. When really you did it for your people, but we just happen to benefit, right? But we'll take that. Okay, fine, no problem. The problem with that, though, is when somebody tries to come in and pretend like forgiveness of student loan debt for Black people is the same as like a baby version of reparations, like that's a reparations package. That's a real mental rope-a-dope they just did on you. They really kind of they're playing games on you. They're finessing you at that point, as my friend Tarika then she might say. That's a finesse. Let me explain why that's a finesse and why that's a kind of a little tricky falsehood that they're laying on you when they tell you that forgiveness of student loans is a form of reparations. You see, the thing about debt that makes it really funny is that debt is almost like creating fake money. It can be like creating fake money. So let me give you an example. Let's say that there's something that you need, really bad, right? Let's say that I know that your family needs to eat, and because there's no other restaurants around, I got the only restaurant that within a 50-mile radius. And so you come in my restaurant, you say, I really need to eat. And I say, well, how much money you got? And you say, well, I don't have any money. I say, that's cool. We'll put it on your tab, right? And I said, so what do you want to eat? What do you want to eat, Shauna Lee? And Shauna says, I'd like a steak dinner, and I'd like a chicken dinner for my son, and some oatmeal for my husband, right? So let's say that that's what they get, right? So then I tell Shauna, I say, okay, no problem, Shauna, we'll just put it on your tab. Well, the steak dinner is $842. The chicken dinner is $1,447, and the oatmeal is $2,418. Now, let me ask, so your grand total is, I don't know, what is it, $5,000, $6,000. But don't worry, Shauna. I'll put it all on your tab. Just go ahead and sign on the dotted line, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Now let me ask you this. Have I kind of played Shauna a little bit? Did I kind of exploit Shauna and take advantage of her a little bit? What do you think? What do you think? Was that a bad deal or a good deal? Give me a yes or no. What do you think? So then here's what happens. So Shauna says, well, that's too much. I don't want to pay that much. And I say, well, if you want to eat, I mean, we're the only restaurant in town and you have to eat, don't you? And Shauna's like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, yeah, so just sign the paper. Don't worry about it. We'll worry about that later, right? So if Shauna is really hungry, Shauna will go ahead and just sign that piece of paper. So now Shauna owes me $6,000 for a meal that cost me, $8 to make. Do you follow what I'm saying? Tell me if you get my logic here. Tell me if you see where I'm going. Sometimes I get accused of talking over people's heads. I don't want to do that, but I don't want to insult your intelligence either. And I want you to understand the game. I want to try to help you see what I'm seeing. Give me a yes or no if you follow what I'm saying, right? So then Shauna says, I'm in debt now to Boyce because I can't pay the $6,000 back that he charged us for this meal. It's causing me financial problems. And I have to declare bankruptcy. I don't know what I'm going to do, etc. So let's say that I didn't go to Shauna and I say, you know what, Shauna? I feel your pain, sister. I care about you, sister. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forgive half of your debt. I'm going to take $3,000 off of your $6,000 debt. So now you'll only owe me $3,000 instead of $6,000. Right. So now the question becomes, did I really do Shauna a favor? Like if I create a financial problem for Shauna and then solve the problem I created, have I really done her a favor or did I do a little rope-a-dope? Townsend says Shauna got raped. Well, I'm not raping nobody, but that's about as close to a financial effing as you can imagine, right? I'm trying not to cuss now, so I'm trying not to get in trouble with the Twitter YouTube Nazis who are now censoring people's free speech. Okay, so my point is to say that the student loan debt that you have it's a false debt. It is a problem that they created, and they make themselves the superheroes by solving the problem they create. That is a consistent strategy that's used all throughout politics. It's used in economics. Like, for example, it's like the grocery store that will sell you the donuts in the front of the store and then sell you the diabetes medication in the back. It's the Democratic Party who will make you super scared of whether it's cops coming to get your son or a virus that's going to kill everybody. And then they come in, they say, guess what? We fixed that. We're going to, all the time we would have spent working on your reparations. Instead, we worked on keeping your son alive. When really your son was going to be alive anyway. Your son was going to be fine anyway. And you probably weren't going to die anyway, right? But because I've focused you on this artificial problem I've created for you, I then can make myself into the hero. So with this student loan thing, this is not, in my view, a relevant or meaningful contribution to the reparations conversation. This is simply justice. Here's the reality. A college degree should not cost you $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in a year. Syracuse University students where I used to teach now pay over $72,000 a year to go to that school. That is too much. They could educate those students for 25 grand or lower, but they don't do it because they're allowed to charge more because the fact that the government makes this cash available, this creates that, what I was speaking about earlier, that asset inflation. So what you have is you have a commodity that people feel like they need. In economics, we call that an inelastic commodity. You have a commodity that everybody needs, like the same way when I told Shauna about the food. Shauna needed that food. She wasn't going to say no to me, right? So you have this commodity that everyone needs, which then gives the person providing the commodity power to raise the price as high as they want to. And then when you throw debt into the equation, that further pushes up the value of the asset. Cheap money inflates the power of assets or the price of assets. Cheap money also causes inflation when it comes to the power of the dollar. That's why over time, the value of the dollar is going down while the value of assets are going up. Houses are going up. Stocks and bonds are going up. Bitcoin is going up like crazy. Bitcoin was $6,000 at the start of the year. It's $41,000 now. Come on now. $41,000 from. I have literally made a killing just by sitting on the Bitcoin that I've owned since 2016. Are you kidding me? I did not have to go to work for this money. All I had to do was buy the Bitcoin and sit on it and wait like a goose sitting on a golden egg. So what I'm telling you is that when it comes to this financial stuff, when it comes to this conversation about student loan debt and everything else, you really have to be able to read the writing between the lines, or they're going to kind of play with you and lie to you and kind of make you think something is what it is not. But again, I say this all to say, though, that if you ask me, do I agree that Joe Biden should address the student loan crisis? He absolutely should. No question. I think this is a good thing. Joe Biden will get no fights from me on the student loan thing. The only thing I would say is that the amount needs to be bigger. This should not be part of your reparations package. And Joe Biden is a guy that has to deal with a demon that I've addressed to you guys in the past. There was a point where, does anybody know? Give me a yes or no if you know about the fact that if you declare bankruptcy, you cannot declare your student loans in your bankruptcy. Did you know that? That you will die with your student loans and then they're going to come get that money after you're dead. Did you know that you cannot declare your bankruptcy on your student loans? Did y'all know that? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no if you knew that. Yeah, you can't do that. Do you know why you can't declare bankruptcy on your student loans? Do you know which senator, hint, hint, which senator, hint, hint, push forward through the bill that says you can't declare bankruptcy on your student loans? Hint, hint. Yeah, Senator Joe Biden. So if Joe Biden wanted to really solve the student loan crisis, he could simply reverse the bill that he pushed through saying you can't declare bankruptcy on your student loans. And then everybody would just go bankrupt and write them off. And then it's done. Then your debt's completely eliminated. Right. So I don't think this is going to happen. But I mean, if you're really trying to get this done, then that's what they would do. But of course, they're politicians and none of what they do ever makes sense. They don't have common sense anymore. So by the way, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Also, we have financial workbooks and flashcards for children. So if you have a child or no children that can benefit from this, please feel free to go take a look at financialworkbooks.com. We have workbooks and flashcards that were developed in conjunction with partnerships with Black educators who care about the community. And we basically created these tools for those who want their children to get ahead of the curve. So financialworkbooks.com is the URL. You can also text the word voice to 31996 to get text notifications when I go live. Let me address one more thing on this Joe Biden student loan thing. One other critique of the student loan debt reduction issue is this. Um, Not everybody goes to college. And there are some who legitimately have stated that if you're forgiving debt of people that went to college, you are punishing those who were a little more careful, who didn't actually take on all that debt. So you're talking about not just, so in one category you've got the people that went to college and took on a lot of debt. I'm in that category. I took on a ton of debt to get my PhD. Do I regret it? Not really. No. I mean, my PhD benefited me. I was able to make it work, but I was able to make it work more as an entrepreneur than as an employee. But even as an employee, I was doing okay. It would have just taken me forever to pay the debt. But then beyond that category, you've got the people who went to college, took on the debt, and paid off the debt, right? And then you got the people who didn't take on hardly any debt at all. And then you got people who didn't even go to college, either because they didn't feel that college was for them, or maybe they chose another route. Like I said, I really encourage parents to all think about all the options for a child. And figure out what your goals are economically for the child, and look at all the options. College is not the only thing that your child can do to be successful, and figure out what success actually looks like. If success is financial security, I told our 17-year-old who's about to go to college, and we're sending him to college, because his mom's a college professor. He can go to college for free. And me and his dad, we got him. Like, he's got two dads, so he's a very lucky young man. And one thing that I told him was, I said, really, all this conversation about picking a major and picking a career and all this other stuff. I said, really, if you go start a business and figure out a way to make $5,000 to $10,000 a month, then you solve that whole problem. It's all gone. At that point, there is no worry about careers and licenses and master's degrees and student loan debt and all that. Just go find a business, find a product that people want, and find a way to make $6,000 to $10,000 a month, and you'll be good. Like, you'll be free. You can get up and go to the movies on a Tuesday afternoon and spend time with your children and live your life and do all the living that you don't get to do when you're spending all your time on the corporate plantation. And so I encourage you to always, think outside the box a little bit on this college thing. And I will say that that's a valid critique, though, that if you forgive student loans, that's not the same as helping the poor. What you're doing is you're kind of helping the middle class, because here's the trade-off that's supposed to occur for those that do take on the student loans. And I'm not knocking it at all. I mean, if you take on student loans and it works for you, then good for you. But the thing about it is, what you've done is basically done kind of what is similar to a business loan. That it's not as good as a business loan, but you've basically taken on this debt so that this debt can theoretically make you more money. The problem is that you have a lot of people that take on the debt without thinking about how it's going to make them more money. So it's almost like starting a race and not even knowing where the finish line is, or shooting a basketball at a basket and not even opening your eyes to see where the basket is located. So you're just throwing the ball up in the air, hoping that it lands in the basket somewhere. That's not how you play basketball. You got to find the goal and then aim for the goal so you can reach the goal with the ball. Right. So the same thing is true with student loans. I see a lot of people that go to college and they think that because they spent 4 years on a campus, that somehow when they get done, somebody's handed them a piece of paper, that someone's going to hand them a job, paying them more money. And I can tell you, as a business owner who has hired tons and tons and tons of people, I don't even halfway care if you went to college. I don't even halfway ask if you went to college. All I want to know is, can you do your job, and can you help our company move forward from a revenue standpoint? If the answer is yes, you could have a third of a GED. You could have went to school till the 4th grade, and I would not care. So what I really want you to impress upon your children, please have your children listen to this video if they're around, because I think it would benefit them for the rest of their life. Like, literally, they would benefit for the rest of their life from this 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or whatever it takes to get through this last part of this video. Make sure you can always add value. That's it. If you add value to people's lives, then people will pay you to add value. A boss will pay you to add value to his company. A millionaire will pay to add value to a partnership, right? A customer will pay you to add value to their life, and they will buy your product because you're adding value. Figure out how you can add value, not just show up with a damn little piece of paper thinking somehow that makes you better than other people. That ain't nothing but a piece of paper. All of that's artificially contrived, and all of that at best is nothing more than what is supposed to be a symbol of the fact that you're capable of adding value. And as a person who has taught on college campuses since 1993, I can tell you that I have seen thousands of students go through 4 years of college and never learn how to add value, and then be confused when nobody wants to give them a job. Well, because you don't know how to do nothing. You don't have a tangible skill. Yeah, if I say, well, what are you able to do? They're like, oh, well, I don't know. I got a piece of paper. That piece of paper means nothing without you having some sort of skill and ability to add value. There we go. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no. I know I got a little bit crazy at the end, but I hope I was making my point. And I got to go. I got work to do. I love you. Financialworkbooks.com. That's where our workbooks are. If you could, please hit that thumbs up button before you go. Hit the share button, subscribe button. Share this video. I think some people need to hear this stuff. This is not stuff you hear on TV, and you won't even learn it on a college campus. I'm much smarter than I was when I was teaching at Syracuse University. So I know a few things that I didn't know back then. Also, we have a program in the Black Business School where the first month is free. It's a program for young people, and it's the YBRprogram.com. It stands for Young, Black, and Rich. And basically, it's all the stuff that I wish somebody had taught me when I was in my 20s. So if you know a young person who's just getting started, maybe they just finished college, maybe they're looking for a financial mentor, whatever the case may be, have them take a look at the YBRprogram.com, and they can ask me questions, and I can maybe help guide them in ways so that they can do better than their parents did. And that's the goal, right? We all want to do better than the people before us who opened the doors for us, but maybe they didn't teach us the things that we wish we had known back then. The earlier you know it, the better you are. A child, I don't care how poor you are, a child who is introduced to wealth at an early age is going to be better off than a middle class or even a rich kid who isn't introduced to wealth building techniques until they're 30 or 40 years old. I'm telling you. So anyway, I got to go. Have a good day. Hit the thumbs up button. Talk to you soon. Love you. Peace.